All right. Hello, home service pros. Welcome to the Battle Plan Marketing Podcast, episode 164. Today we are part 4 of our book series with author and owner-operator Kim Hopkins of the Million Dollar Contracting book. He's sharing his 4 decades of knowledge with us, one chapter at a time. It's pretty awesome. Welcome back to the show, Kim.
Thank you, Mark.
Glad to be conversing on the book with you here. So we are in chapter 4 now, promotions and tips. So let's talk about a couple of things. We cover a lot in this chapter, so we're going to have hopefully a great conversation today worth everybody listening. So let's summarize first, maybe. What are your favorite marketing techniques? Well, let me take you back a little bit. Let's take you back all the way to year 1 or 2. Oh, we got a little echo. And then let's take you to current day and how that mindset has changed maybe and where you're going after.
Okay. You mean when I started 45 years ago?
yeah, if you could. Well, let's put it into modern days, right? So let's say you're a newbie in 2025.
Yeah, that it has to be like that. Things have changed so much that my advice back then would be so ineffective relative to the power of the internet now to do the same thing for much less time, money, and effort. So yeah, for sure, we would want to do that.
Exactly. So if I'm a new guy coming out of the gate, year 1, 2, where should I put my efforts?
Okay, first I want to define 2 different concepts to start, because it'll come up over and over again, the concept. We're talking about promotion here. So like in the book, I give an analogy, like you're in a boat, like a sailboat, and all of a sudden, like it starts to sink in the middle of the ocean somewhere. And you have a life raft, fortunately, and a flare gun with 1 flare, unfortunately, not more than that. You get in this lifeboat, and like a couple of days later, you're eking out a living here, running out of water, and way off in the distance, you see this ship. So you take a breath, and then you decide, okay, this is it. This is it for me. And you shoot off the flare, and the ship sees you, thank goodness, and it starts coming your way. Wow, it's a miracle. And it comes over there, and now it's right next to your life raft, and they take you aboard, and you're saved. Okay, so with that analogy, promotion is shooting off the flare. It's attracting attention. That's all. That is all it is. It's just like, hey, look over here. So that's promotion, and the ship comes on over. Talking yourself aboard, that is sales. Where you want to not act like a pirate, for instance, or whatever else you might do to screw the sail up. You want to get on that boat. So that's sales. Now you can do both at once. Promotion can have sales built into it sometimes, which is more efficient, and that's what I like to do. But ultimately, you got to separate these 2 thoughts. That there's a promotion where you attract people, and then there's sales where you get them to decide based on the fact that they looked at you and whatever their opinions are at that moment, you're going to follow through with what they're hoping you have to offer them. That's the sales part. Okay, so with that understood, the question is, what kind of promotion would I recommend for new people? There's a lot of different kinds. The idea from the beginning is, let's just say it's really harsh. Nobody knows you at all, and you live in an apartment building, and you don't have neighbors that need your business, and you just moved to town and you have no friends. So what are you going to do? Like, you're completely isolated.
Right.
At this moment, you have to start from nothing. So what I would say, one way, this is for a lot of different trades. There's a kind of company out there, kind of service called home warranty services. Home warranty services, when someone buys a new house or an old house, but they're new buyer, they often get like a 1-year warranty. And it's like, hey, everything is covered, or so they say. Like, if your water starts dripping, or, your electricity goes out, or your roof and so what these homeowners do is they call the home warranty company and they say, hey, guess what? I don't have any hot water anymore. So then they have a plumber go out there at no charge, theoretically, to the homeowner, because they've got a year of insurance on this. And the plumber fixes whatever the problem is. The plumber doesn't bill the customer. The plumber bills the home warranty company. And so if a plumber can get in with one of these companies, and it's not that hard, believe it or not, that's been my experience. There's not just one, there's several home warranty companies. So if you go to the internet and Google home warranty company, that's a good start on this. Then if you establish yourself and do a decent job and don't make a nuisance of yourself, you'll probably get more and more calls from that home warranty company indefinitely. It's like this miracle of, like, you made one freaking phone call, or I'm exaggerating, but maybe, and then now you sign up with them, and then they start calling you. And if they don't, you can call them and try to get them to call you. I did this when I was first starting off, and there was no internet at the time, but I found out about this idea. You don't get paid as much. They want to pay the least as much as they can. So, like, let's just say you want a service call to cost $100. Well, they want it to cost $75, that kind of thing. Hey, but $75, when you're working out of a garage or something, it's equal to $100 anyway. For if you've got own a building, you've got way more expenses to pay for. So that is definitely one way. The only caveat I'm going to say is, be careful with the money. Like, they need to pay you, of course, at the end of this thing. Sometimes, some of them at some different times have decided it's clever to keep the money for a long time. So you've got to pay attention to that. But assuming that the money works for you, the timing on the money, then that's a pretty good way to promote once and get job after job after job. So that is one way that I've found to be pretty successful. In the book, there's, I don't know how many, I've got like
a lot,
50 different ways to promote. That just came to mind. And for sure, we don't have time to go over every kind of promotion there is.
Right.
I don't know if there's any. Well, that's a highlight. I'm just telling you that if you get into the book, and I'm not trying to sell the book, I'm just trying to explain. You go through all the different ones that fit your criteria, whoever you are, with whatever your services are and whatnot, you're likely to find some that are going to work for you.
Yeah. I like how you went right to referral sources, Ken. So there's water damage companies, like you're saying, home insurance, apartment buildings, condos, so on and so forth. These should be great targets that send you business over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, think about that. You're busy out there working. If you're lucky, you've got a bunch of work now. And, you don't want to answer millions of phone calls if you can avoid it. So imagine if you just have emails come in and say, okay, here's the next job.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's definitely one. Another one, and this takes more time. This is when it's the middle of winter and you are snowed in. No, whatever. You're not working one way or another, and you have some time. You decide, well, what kind of work do I really like? And if you're, I don't know, like a framer, you go to general contractors and you call every one of them. And there's no more really yellow pages, but you can certainly look up general contractor in Google. And general contractor near me, and then you get like a map, and you can just start clicking, closer to you, and then further and further away, and look at their reference. Oh man, if you're going to go with general contractors, please do yourself a favor. Look for a minimum of 4 stars, if not 5 or 4.5, because general contractors, they're good and bad. They offer a bunch of work. If you get in with the right general contractor, things are going to be really good, because usually it's not just like a 1-hour job. It's not like a service call. It's like rewire my house, or like do a complete kitchen, or
Right.
tile the entire floor of this or that, or paint the entire house, So there's that aspect. But the question you must ask yourself with general contractors is, okay, you know what? Do you have a couple of references like that of people that have worked with you before? If they can't give them to you, or they get annoyed or upset with you, that's not a good indicator, because you see some general contractors treat their subs very badly. They don't pay them or pay them on time or whatever. And so, you know what they have to do? Keep finding new sub trades to inflict themselves on. The best contractors are absolutely the hardest ones to get involved with, because they're faithful to their subs that are already knocking themselves out to do a really good job. But if you're persistent enough, you'll eventually be able to get in with someone who's a little pissed off at their plumber, or, oh, this guy keeps raising his prices, so I want to try a new painter. So that's a source that's, again, Mark, you're mentioning this idea of, one-time promote and many times get more and more jobs. It's a key to save a lot of time and money on promotion, is to find the sources. Another one is management companies for apartment buildings and businesses. That's a really good one. That's like, you start with service calls, but sometimes they can turn into bigger projects. I know I'm doing that right now, and we're talking millions a year for what I've built up with management companies. They start with service calls, and then they do things like, for me, I'm an electrician. Can you replace every sub panel in this 35 unit complex?
Right.
Sure. That'll be 50,000, and we do it every week at this point. We didn't start like that. We started with, can you fix this light switch for unit 107? If you it's always about quality work and terrific communication. You do everything they love, and they're going to love you. And then whoever they were using before, they start replacing that person. If you do what you can even ask when you're talking, and they say, yeah, we got a small job. Well, what happened to the last guy? Like, how's that going? What do you need that they're not providing for you? Well, we just wish that you would blah, blah, blah. And then you do that.
Yeah. 100% of the time, ask that question.
Yeah.
Why did you get rid of, or what is the past guy not doing right? Yeah, these are my favorite ways to, no matter what kind of company you got, to go after. I would say in that general contractor world also, like, I'm not sure the rest of the country, but ADUs, or what's that, accessory dwelling units, are super popular in California. They may be elsewhere. So if you're looking for contractors, maybe who do ADUs, now you're building a little, a mini house in the backyard, kind of granny flat or something like that. Those are pretty popular right now. And,
that's true.
Apartment buildings are on the rise, as far as investors going after rental properties. So tying in your apartment managers with also contractors who build them.
The thing about management company, another thing to promote, another thing to think about is not only, I'll use management companies as an example. It's not just that they keep needing you for more work all the time, and they like you more and more if you do better and better work all the time, then they're totally happy. They are semi-recession proof, because you see, they're managing buildings that have tenants. If anything, some of the tenants lost their job. Now they're even home more often to break their light switches or mess up the plumbing in some way and stuff. Right. So, but they can't not. The management company has to keep doing work. Whereas if you have a general contractor, the problem with them is, nobody wants to build a house right now. They're out of business, man. But not management companies. They continue to be there. So
yeah, very good. Good advice, because we are definitely heading, or seem to be, in a down cycle, and long overdue, really. So yeah, the construction will probably come to a near halt if we are indeed sliding into a recession here. So yeah, look for property managers, management companies, etc.
And if you get really clever, I mean, this is probably not until you're more established, but hit up supermarkets, like hit up hit up chains. Chains. Oh, I'll give you one that I don't do it anymore just because we're so busy anymore that, man, it's been years since I've had to do much. I have like little promotion machines that never stop, but in terms of new stuff, not so much. But there was a time when I needed work. Here's another one, 7-Eleven. And probably what's that other one? OK or they're not now in California so much. There's a whole nother, like 7-Eleven. There's a whole nother.
Gotcha. Another chain.
Other chain like that. Yeah. Anyway, the thing about them is they often have, they're not like one big corporation owns them all. They often have owners that own each one individually, and they're like franchises. Okay.
Yeah.
So then the owners, well, I'll just tell you my viewpoint from electrical. They postpone work, or they don't know that they should do it, or they hire these handymen that don't know what they're doing. So eventually you have people that are paying attention to the franchises that work for the corporation itself. And they go in there and they go, man, this is a mess. And you find these people that are in charge of 20 like 7-Elevens, and you say, yeah, I can clean up the electrical here. You go there, you look it over, and you say, yeah, you need this, this, and this. It'll be, $12,000 or $2,000 or whatever. And then there's the next one and the next one. And I got so busy with 7-Elevens at one point, I said, look, why don't we just schedule one a week? Okay. We'll talk about it, and then we'll do it if you want, that kind of thing. But I'm sure other trades are involved. Like I'm sure plumbing would be one of them, electrical, plumbing. And then, of course, if you're into communications or, POS systems or whatever, that'd be another. So I'm just saying, think outside the box just a tiny bit. Like, just who needs your trade all the time? And like that you'll be doing them a favor when they don't have to keep searching for a new tradesperson. They found you. So now you just deliver on what you promise, and they're going to call you every time. And you're doing them a favor, and it costs you no money. So that's the way to go.
Just time, dial for dollars.
Yeah.
Were you going after then 7-Eleven like corporate or district managers or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know. Like today, I'd call up 7-Eleven management or something. I'd find something, and then you winnio it down. You'd say, okay, well, who should I talk to? Well, I don't know. Here's our field superintendent for Southern, Los Angeles or something. And then you call them up, and, it'll take a while, a little bit of persistence, but if you're a good communicator and you're friendly and you just are straight, no bullshit sales. Remember, this is promotion. You're just saying, look, I'm a plumber. I do excellent work. I think our prices are a little bit less than most people. They're totally reliable. How about if you give us a shot on one thing, and let's just see how it goes. And then that will snowball into more work, because my experience is on these, even though this may seem like a big work to a brand new tradesperson, it's not. Like these are smaller projects that the big boys don't even want to get involved in. Like me, I'm not a big boy even, but I don't need this anymore. And it's a lot more admin time just to write down addresses and handle, back and forth communication, as opposed to a management company that it's a little smoother. So I don't have to do it anymore. Circle K, that was the other one that about. Or do gas stations, start specializing in something. And there's plenty of things, like do Jack in the Boxes, do, whatever, like that you can, if you find something that works, and maybe like look back in your history, if you already have a business. I'm talking to you listening to this and watching this. If you do, like, is there a job like that you did? Like, well, dude, what happened? Why didn't you turn that into many jobs? Like go find out who hired you for that particular job. What I'd recommend you don't do is go to like Staples or something like that and do some very large job when you first start. Any large corporation is going to keep your money like triple the amount of time they promise they will. I promise you they will. I'll promise you that. That's my promise to you. They can promise you 1 month. Okay. I'll promise you that it's going to be 3 months.
Yeah. So 90 days. Yep.
Yeah. If you got any cash flow issues, do not mess with large corporations, because somebody back east is really clever and they keep about $26 million in their bank an extra month, and they get interest on it. And they're mean and cruel. Corporations are not the nicest. So be careful of the large.
Mean and cruel. They are. That's they're going to a profit and delaying cash flow, right? So
it's actually illegal for corporations not to try to make a profit as their number one activity. It's literally part of our law that.
That's their fiduciary duty to their shareholders. You betcha.
So much for Google not doing evil, but
Yeah.
They even took it off before it was a publicly traded corporation.
Yeah. They literally took that off of their freaking mission statement or whatever. So that's beware.
Yeah. Okay.
Crazy.
So look, there's so many more, but you'd have to jog my memory, and I could.
Well, these are really good. And I think the timing is perfect because, again, whether I'm wrong or right, it doesn't matter. These are great long-term promotional, relationships that you need to establish to have an awesome business. So you're not advertising on Google and Yelp all the time. And if we are sliding into a slower time, everybody seems to be a little slower right now, or a lot of people are. These are great resources. So start thinking of I like your idea. Go back into your book of business and pick out all the little commercial places, all the little, all the apartment buildings, the bigger buildings that you can go after. And maybe even like Google franchises near me, and pick out some that are recession proof, like ask AI, hey, what are recession proof businesses?
There you go. That's a good idea.
Right.
And if you want to be really clever, what you do, this is like something, if you wrote a novel about a successful contractor, what that person would do is they would find a lot of work that has to do with recessions. And then they would find other companies that do really well in the exact opposite of a recession. Exactly. So like you do plumbing work for Target for recessionary times, and you do plumbing for Neiman Marcus for the good times.
Boom.
And so when one isn't good, the other one is good. There's that aspect of things.
That's beautiful planning right there. If you can pull that off, right? I like that a lot.
Something else I never did, but it sounds good. It's like almost like a fiction. I mean, it sounds like a good idea, and I do it, but not with Neiman Marcus and Target. But
right, exactly.
Like you could say that with general contractors are like that. Like they're not going to be busy in a recession, but they will be doing great when it's the opposite of a recession. Whereas property management will be doing good in a recession.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, go after them because they're the ones with multiple properties, right? So. Absolutely.
Don't make the mistake of only focusing on contractors for new construction. Like I've literally talked to people that say, "Oh, I'm really cool. I've got like these 3 general contractors that build houses all the time, and that's what I got." I'm like, "Do you have a website?" No. Well, I've got a business card. I only had 3 business cards. That's all I ever needed. Yeah, till next year, my friend. Till next year.
Just show them to people. I don't give it to them.
Yeah, I've only got 3.
No, yeah, that's super excellent advice, actually. And there's lots of promotions in the book here that you could, the reader could study and pick out, what aligns with your personality.
Yeah, let me just see.
I like a lot of the local stuff in here, Kim. So
apps
like
and phone books, BPMP membership, business cards, and breakfast network clubs, which I hate, Chamber of Commerce, classes for home inspection. Oh, that's a fun one. If you're willing to give, I'll give you a tip on how to do it too. Like the home inspectors have to, at least in LA or California, it's called CREA. It's an organization they all have to belong to. They have to get ongoing training for being a home inspector. So they're constantly looking. This will not be a problem. You will find, if you can figure out who's in charge of that particular trade of home inspectors, they will die for you to come and fill out one of like once a month they have like a dinner, and then they have a guest speaker, and they're always desperate for guest speakers. And I did this for a while, and I didn't know anything about speaking, nor do I now. And so that's why, Mark, you're so great because you just ask me questions and I answer. That's my entire speaking style, and so because I went to one to see what they're like, and some plumber was like droning on and on, or some air conditioning guy or something, and people were like dying. They were like trying to, God, I'm going to fall asleep in my soup here, But the reality is, so I walked up there when it was my turn, because you only do one, per, like, that's the way I did it.
Right.
Then when it was my meeting or whatever, I went up there with like a $10 bill, and I said, okay, whoever answers this question first gets this $10. I mean,
nice.
what's $10, right? And I had showed pictures.
Their attention.
Yeah, like, what's wrong with this picture? And I'd show like some egregious code violation, and then people would find it for electrical, and they'd get excited. I did it like 3 times, and now it cost me $30 or whatever it cost me. And then from then on, I just said, okay, well, any other questions? And I never had a speech. They would, for 45 minutes, I answered questions.
Wow.
And they got more and more excited. They would chase me out of the room when I'm going to my car. They would follow me and here's the thing that happened. See, now they're inspecting homes all day long, all those people. So I say, and I have a free service. I answer code questions or any question you have all day long. Just give me a call. And guess who gets the work? Well,
yeah.
And so I stopped doing that a long time ago because I didn't need to. But if you really need work, and you
beautiful
can extend that for like a month, home inspectors is a good way to go. And that's my recommendation, and modify what I just said, but don't give a 30-minute speech about drywall. Okay. Give everyone a break on that. Like, let them ask you questions about drywall, perhaps.
Yes. No death by PowerPoint, please.
Yeah. There's coupons. You can go to like Craigslist. You can that's a pretty inexpensive way. It used to be free, actually, but it's not anymore as far as I know. But you can, and there's competition in there. Read your competition, if it's handyman or this or that, just look and see who's competing against you and what they say, and then just try to come up with a slightly more enticing thing to say. And as far as I know, people continue to advertise in there. So I'm pretty sure there are people that go there, but they're going to ask for the lowest price. You're just starting out. That's fine. Don't be doing this 5 years later. Like, you need to start with something. And
stay away from Craigslist after year 1.
Right. Let's see. Internet marketing is the most powerful, but you need some dollars to do it. Now, if you've been a good tradesperson and worked for someone else, you probably have some money. If you don't have any money, the question is why? Maybe you need to address that first, but you need to go into your business with some cash flow. Yeah. And then you always, I guess the number one thing I do these days is have a website. And the brilliant, amazing thing is, a guy working out of his garage can have a website that's as good as Sears Home Improvement or something. There's you have a choice, especially if you start having pages that features the services you like to do the most. This will, another chapter, I'm sure we'll get way more into that. But internet marketing is necessary, but not necessarily paying Google money to advertise for them. There are other ways to take advantage of it. But you need a website. I wouldn't even start a business until I had a website, unless I had a bunch of neighbors that just kept referring me, because I don't have to work for that. But other than that, I would for sure have a website before I even started my business. So
and a Yelp, I would say, and a Google My Business listing. And, and a Facebook page, somewhere on social. So you can't even, because they're going to all those places before they even call you, probably.
For sure, no matter, like, if a neighbor refers you, they're still going to your website first.
100, yeah.
Like, 95% of the time, But you're walking away from most of your dollars without a website.
Yeah, agree. Going back to your training with the home inspectors, you could pull that same thing off with realtors and sometimes the local board of realtors, they have meetings all the time.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, you have, what is it? Somebody Williams or, there's some major companies out there, and they'll have 20 real estate agents every Thursday morning at 9:00.
Yeah.
And you give them a presentation. And again, you say, look, you're out there and this house is in escrow and you need somebody, you've already had a home inspection and it said they have to, do something with the ceiling or the plumbing or the roofing or the whatever.
Right.
Like, it's time. If you call me, I'm going to be a great service for you because I'll treat them right and I'll tell them exactly what they need to do. And I can follow it up with good service. And it'll look good for you and you'll be able to provide your client with a service. Yeah, I've done that before too. You bring some bagels and coffee or whatever. And,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've done that. Again, this is called sweat equity. Like you got to put in the time, make phone calls, make it happen. And then of course you have business cards with the website because they got to go to your website. And
right.
Yeah, you can definitely, I still have real estate agents from who knows what decades ago still calling me because once you get a relationship, they continue to go.
That's the beauty of these referral sources. We could go on forever and just really stop here, man. Just keep doing that. And you're on the right path to low cost, high quality leads. I think they even have home inspector, like the realtor group will probably have a meeting every once in a while where the audience is home inspectors. And if you're in the I'm going to use the plumbing world as an example. So plumbers have a little bit of an advantage. I'm sure every trade could come across and be highly educational. But in my head is, when you buy or sell a house, they have the home inspector, the buyer will hire a home inspector usually, but that person is really not skilled in any one of the systems in the house. They're just a cursory look. And a big thing in a transaction is the sewer line. So plumbers should be saying, hey, especially if you've run it across it already, you have pictures, like you said, of here's busted sewer pipe. After they bought the house, 3 weeks later, the sewer clogged, we found a tree, roots destroying the line, and nobody covers that. That's on the buyer now. And so there's probably going to be a lawsuit in the buyer and the seller and the agent. So something to educate someone on. And I'm sure if you're a roofer, electrician, you have your lane to present to them.
Yeah, I'll tell you what we do, because we do get a bunch of these from the past. We're not promoting this way anymore, but we're still, like I said, getting real estate agents and houses in escrow, and they had a home inspection already. So I say this, okay, send over the home inspection, or at least the electrical part of the home inspection. And then I look at it and I go through it and I say, yeah, okay, it looks like there's a bunch of stuff here. If you want us to give you a bid in writing for all this work, we need to go out there and we charge $150 for, I think it's like 1,500 square feet. And then every 250 square feet, there's another $25 or something. So we're going to get like $200 to go out there, and we fill out, we say we don't even have to inspect anything practically because the home inspector did it. Like, all we have to do is take everything that they said and we have to put dollars to it. And that's what we do. And then guess what? We get about half those jobs later when escrow closes.
Right.
So, and if it's a panel upgrade or something, we're talking a few $1,000s for work like that.
Exactly.
And the great thing is, on escrows, the buyer can't wait for you to give them the most expensive possible bid you can, because they're trying to deduct that off the sale. So you'll never get a flashback of like, what? That's too expensive. No, it's more like, are you sure that's all you need?
Exactly.
But you got to be careful, because if you oversell it with too much money, then of course they're not going to hire you. Because they'll go find somebody else that's cheaper. So be honest about it. Don't be swayed by that. But it's just amusing that you'll never get a complaint when you give pricing.
Yeah. Don't be ripping off people, just your regular pricing. But your price won't be the smallest because there's this giant house price lingering on your little, your work. So yeah, your work will never have looked so cheap in comparison.
Yeah, right. Well, there is that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good stuff. Whoops. Sorry, my bad. Let's see. Let me get to, I did like, something you mentioned. I'm probably jumping ahead a little bit, because we're about to talk about a bunch of different ways to advertise and stuff. And somewhere in there, you talked about, hey, don't clog up your promotions, your advertising with 32 different offers.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about that a little bit, Ken.
Okay. There's in LA, this is a really, really big city, and there's a lot of competition. In fact, it turns out, and I've looked in Google when you search for electrician Los Angeles, it's the most competitive in the entire world, literally in the entire, every country. You'd think Tokyo or New York, but see, New York has a lot of union that electricians out in LA don't. So the bottom line is it's the most competitive. I found the right place to start a business, right? In the most competitive place there is. But on the other hand, there's a lot of work. So,
Right.
So when it's super competitive, other people are also on the internet trying to attract attention by promoting. So what you don't do is you don't say plumber Glendale or plumber Los Angeles. That's not the way you want to promote. Like, you want to find the kind of business you want to do. Like, this is a whole nother discussion, of which, by the way, I have this whole chart, that a little formula with, it's like 5 things that you can do. How much is it worth? And how often can you get a job like this? And is there repeat business? And do you like the work? And is it profitable? And you get a score for all that, for like, let's say the top 10 things that you might want to do as a tradesman. There's a score, and then you can go, oh, I was surprised. That's the one I should go for then, for number 1. But anyway, that being said, let's just say that you're an electrician and you like doing EV car charger installations, and there's enough of them in LA where, okay, that might be good. First of all, you'd call up Tesla, or you'd call up other places and try to get on their list. Okay, that's the first thing you try to do. And but whether you do that or not, let's just say that you want to put an ad online. You would put something like electric EV car installation, Glendale. See, that's so much more specific than electrician Glendale, because there could also be panel upgrades, house rewires, short circuit repair, or a million other things that electricians could advertise for. But I assure you, electrician Glendale, it's going to be much more competitive, because I don't know why, after all these years that people haven't figured this out, but they still have not, that you get as specific as you possibly can, because in a large population, there'll still be enough people that want to do that very specific thing. Now, if you think about your own life and your own house, let's say you have a house and you want to find out about, like, you need a new water heater. So do you want a water heater? Do you want like what's it called when you heat up water all the time and it's
like a recirculating pump?
Well, no, the thing where you have electricity or gas that just uninterrupted, it never, tankless water.
Tankless, yeah.
So maybe you want a tankless one, maybe you don't. Maybe you want 20 gallon, maybe you want 40 gallon, who knows? So you're doing some research. If you type in like 20 gallon water heater, hardly any plumber is going to think, I know, I'm going to pay Google to have that as an ad, like that exact search term, 20 gallon water heater. And then they do that at the top. I promise you, on anything you type in, you could type in sexual habits of aardvarks in Germany or something, and there'll be an ad at the top somehow. Somehow they'll figure out how there could be an ad. And okay, so your ad could be there for a relatively small amount of money for 20 gallon water heater installation. And it could just say, Joe's Plumbing, we specialize in inexpensive water heaters or something like that. And they're going to click on that ad. We'll give you information about it, or experts at, comparing
analysis,
different things. You come up with like an ad and they'll click on it. It's going to cost you 10 times less than plumber Glendale would in it itself. And that goes for any trade, any city that's a large population. You try to make it the most tiniest little thing that you can. And you can get like 20 different things that people might type in that are like that are just relatively not thought about, and they're just not going to be very expensive on a pay-per-click type ad. Here's the interesting thing though. Now you go out to like Budapook, Idaho or something, and it's like hardly anybody's there. Okay. The exact opposite.
Right.
there's
Good
hardly
point.
anybody there, so there won't be much competition. So there you want to say plumber, all services, Budapest, Idaho. And
Right.
sure enough, like maybe you'll get the same number as the people in Glendale that want a 20-gallon
Right.
water heater, because there's the population so much bigger and smaller depending on which one you're at. So if the smaller the population, the more general your ad should be. The larger the population, the more very specific. And that goes right down to your website. So like in Glendale, you want 20-gallon, 40-gallon, 30-gallon tankless. You want, like to say, everything you ever want to know about water heaters is on a page, and people are very impressed with that. And if you get in, then you can even get videos about it, and you can do things. You're the expert suddenly. And so that's where the landing page goes when they click on your ad. It goes to that specific page. That's me. Like which would you rather do when you're in, you have a big population and you're wondering about water heaters. You see one ad that says, Joe's Plumbing, we do no job too large or too small.
Right.
Wow. Oh, okay. Another one says, water heaters are us. Okay. Which one are you going to want to click on, and it's now you go to Budapest, Idaho. It's sort of like you want a page that says we do everything, no job too large or too small, because you want to know that they can take care of whatever your thing is. So the odds of you wanting to ask them about 20-gallon water heaters is not very high. Right. But whatever you are asking about, you go, well, at least I got a plumber in town. I better, and he seems to know everything, so I'm going to call him. Yeah. So there's the psychology of that.
Good advice, because we tend to take one thing covers all, and it's not, and you'd be wasting a lot of money if you were in that small town. So very good advice. Know the population, know the competition, do a lot of searching on your services, and drill down into those long tail keywords there. Those very specific. So I love that.
It's definitely a mistake to think, look, I'll just be really general and then more people will call me. The exact opposite is true. Yeah. In any kind of mid-sized or large population base, it's exactly the opposite. You don't want to be general. You want to be really specific. And then they go, oh, that's for me. You'll get plenty more calls that way.
Yeah. Yeah. In the populated areas, you need to promote one thing, not very frequently. You'll see in these door hangers or the valve packs or whatever, they got 3 or 4 specials going on the thing. That is no bueno. Just pick one service, and that's the service you should promote. You should have a QR code on there, a website address, and a phone number, a tracking number, right?
Absolutely. And you can see how well those things work. Oh, that we'll get into advertising in some other
tracking and all that. Yeah. That'll come in a future one. And you referenced on page 48 how to calculate a promotion's net benefit score, where you measure the type of work, if you like it, as a profitable potential number of customers. So you're going after work that you love, work that is good margins for you, hopefully, and you like those customers. And it might surprise you if you sit down and calculate some of that, where you really want your work. You might love, or you may not love a particular job that is highly rewarding, at least financially and such.
So, like there's I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 categories, and you add them together and subtract some from others, and by the time you're done, you come up with a number. The higher the number, the more likely it's going to be successful when you're marketing that.
Yeah, it's good insights in there. And then you touch on a couple of things that you're probably beyond doing now yourself, but things like the Chamber of Commerce, local B&I groups, things like that, if you're just coming out of the gate. Well, actually, I take that back. So no matter how long you've been in business, Chamber of Commerce is a good one, because for nothing other than you're going to be listed. Well, make sure they have a website. I'm sure they do. And they list all their members. And in that membership listing, you get a link to your website. And then now that's giving Google a local signal that, you do business in that town. And as many local links as you can collect, pointing to your website from other businesses and stuff in town. Super excellent for SEO world, although I don't know, I don't know how the SEO world is going to. You know, people are using Perplexity now and OpenAI, and search is in an evolution. I would not spend a lot of money on SEO right now other than making sure technical is good. And like Kim says, you're writing articles about the business you want to do so you can educate your consumers when they hit your website that you know how to do that stuff.
Yeah, I have like a boutique internet marketing company for contractors,
Right.
around the country. I used to guarantee I could get them on the first page, and I could,
Right.
like right away, like within 3 months, no problem. That sort of went away. I guess my company's been there so long, it competes in LA
Yeah.
nicely. Okay. But I can't do that with, and forget it. If you've got a new website, it's not likely unless you've got a really, really small market somewhere. But like another aspect of all of this is I'm in a place called La Crescenta. That's where my company is. But
Okay.
see, I want to service all of LA County. So I'm not interested in joining the local Chamber of Commerce for La Crescenta because I don't care. That's like 1/100th. It's like 1% of the
small
area. It's not worth my marketing efforts when you consider the time it takes to, be a member of the Chamber of Commerce. Now, I'm just not a really social guy. I just am not into, I haven't joined the Lions Club or, I'm not secret society oriented. I'm not good material for those kind of things. Breakfast clubs, I'm not I just don't do it. Okay.
Yeah.
So instead, but there are people out there that do. They like hanging out with other people, especially in small towns where there may be like 10 people that are kind of running the town almost. They're just very familiar with how things go. I've got a niece like that owns a restaurant in Texas, and she'll be mayor someday. I keep joking about it. She doesn't want to be for sure. But now she owns 2 restaurants there in Wimberley, Texas. And one time I went there to visit and I did a video because it was so busy inside. I was like, look at this place. This is my niece that's, owns this place.
Awesome.
Look how busy it is. And then she says in the video, this isn't busy. I said, what do you mean? She says, there's no line out the door right now.
Nice.
So that's how busy you can get. And everywhere she goes, when I was walking around with her, she couldn't walk more than 20 feet down a sidewalk without running into somebody. And she knew everybody and they'd chat for a while. So she has that personality. I do not. So if you have that personality, I strongly recommend that you do the Chamber of Commerce because you will get a lot of business if you get known as the guy or like the high school sponsor for the football team, things like that. I'm just so far removed from that. I'm not antisocial, but I'm just not, it's just not my personality. But if it's yours, take advantage of that because most people are not that. So if you are, even become a member and start making decisions on the Chamber of Commerce, you'll get business for sure. For sure.
Yeah, 100%. All that outreach stuff. If that's your personality, go for it. And if it's not, that's fine. Just, that's one avenue you're not going down. Nothing wrong with that. That's pretty good. I never thought of that. If your service area is greater than the chamber, that might not be something worth investing in, especially if you're not.
There's a ton of people like that, ton of tradesmen out there are like in a place right outside of Boston, but they want to work in Boston. So the Chamber of Commerce where they are is not necessarily going to help them with Boston.
Join the Boston one.
Well, if you can, they
might not let you, depending on where you're located.
Yeah, it helps if you are where you want to do your business because then you can get on Google Maps and really push that, brick and mortar address, and you can benefit a great deal that way.
Yeah. Good advice. You mentioned QR codes in here, and I'd like to touch on that a little bit because I think they're highly underused in the States, and they're coming around since COVID. The restaurants and things started using them instead of paper menus and things like
In
that.
LA, it was like a fad for like 6 months, and now
And
people
now
are back to like, I don't want this bullshit. I just want to look at a full size menu.
Yeah, give me a real.
I don't want to look on my smartphone for your entire menu.
Right? Exactly. You got nothing I touch in this place, or what?
There are plenty of uses for that QR code. For sure.
Yeah. Like none of your promotion, none of your marketing, none of your advertising should, almost none of it should go out without a QR code, in my humble opinion. You need to, everything should be a funnel. You should be pulling them into a landing page, with an opt-in, some kind of call to action there. But I would suggest using QR codes way more, especially if you're doing print. If you're sending out postcards or those door hanger ads or the envelope stuff from Valpacks, those kind of things, 100% use one offering and a QR code taking them to either that service page or a landing page specific about that offer. You like that idea or no?
I do. It's just one more thing you can do. You could even have say, here's a QR code for a discount on a service call.
Right.
And then it literally goes to a page that says 25% off your first hour of work or whatever,
Right.
It's like, it can act like a coupon.
Make them claim it with an opt-in, name and email on phone, and now have a automated messaging drip sequence going out. Tag them with your newsletter, and now get them, your email newsletter as well. Capture every damn lead you can and nourish them.
Yeah. Especially if you have time. I don't have time. Well, for one thing, I'm semi-retired. So other people in my company don't have time because we're just handling the calls that keep coming in. Right. But look, come on, man. I've had 45 years to make it happen. And I did it right from the only thing I ever did right was do quality work and always answer the phone. Everything else I did so wrong. How many pages? Like 350 pages. I'm sure there's no question I've spent $2,000. I've lost $2,000 per page from all the stupid mistakes I've made. For sure.
I bet.
How much I've made, that's a whole other story. But I'm just saying, your time becomes valuable. And so if you can do any long term, if you're going to be in business, let's just say 10 years or more, using what I know, I feel confident I could, if I had it over to do over again, I would give myself 10 years to be a millionaire. And the reason is I wouldn't make all the mistakes I made, which are plenty. And instead I would just keep making a profit, and I would take that profit, I would invest it. And if you invest it in the right way, in the end of the day, or end of the decade anyway, you'll probably be worth $1 million, not with dollars in the bank. You'll have property worth it, or one way or another, you'll be well on your way to financial freedom. It depends on how much time you have. If you have 3 years, not so much. Okay. But the longer you have, the more it's important to invest in the last part of the time you're going to have. And I did that, one really cheap way, it isn't instant, but it pays off big time in the end. You put stickers on whatever you did. Like for electricians, you put a sticker on the panel. How to reset your circuit breaker. And then past that, you just put a phone number and, that kind of thing. If you're a plumber, you can put it on a garbage disposal or put it on your water heater. If you're
everything,
and just find a way, I'm not talking about buying refrigerator magnets, which you can also do.
Right. And
you might need to in certain trades, but I'm just saying, find a way every job to be permanently in front of them when they need you. That's like a water heater. Who looks at their water heater?
Yeah.
The people that need a water heater.
Right. That's it. That's the only
Who looks at their electrical panel? Well, people that need to look at their panel for some reason, right?
Right.
So anyway, just a
good point. Invest in a solid sticker, not some cheap ass sticker either. Some great sticker that's going to be there 10, 15, 20 years.
It's stuck on forever,
Forever. Use the QR code on the sticker, the phone, the address. Yeah, if you have a business location, your physical address and your phone number, right? All of the above. Yeah, that probably paid off more than anything any service company ever did, is their stickers.
I can't even imagine how many stickers. I mean, imagine 5,000 jobs times 20 years. That's already, what is that? That's
What is that?
100,000.
Yeah, 100,000 stickers out there.
Like how many, is it 100,000 to 1 odds if someone needs an electrician today? No,
Right.
it's better odds than that. So we're getting calls. We get calls and calls and calls from all these different things that really paid off in the end, like lifetime warranty. That's another thing. That's a whole other discussion though. But.
Yeah, we'll bring that up in the next one because those are great. Maintenance plans, warranties, all that good jazz. Yeah. So with that said, Kim, this was a golden one. I sure hope people listen to the end and soak that up because, man, referral partners, all these things we touched on, they are absolute gold for any business out there. So tear it up, folks out there. Kim, any parting words on this particular chapter? We might cover some more of it in the next one.
Yeah, I was thinking this might be a 2-parter just because it might be. But look, guys, I want to make it really clear. And I was thinking this earlier. I wonder, Mark, if you should intro me this way every time. Say the stupid guy that made some money. But it's kind of like that. Like, Mark, I've heard some of your other podcasts, right? What are these, webinars or podcasts?
Podcasts.
Yeah. Whatever they are. Information communication system.
Yeah,
exactly. Whatever it's called. I've listened to a couple of them. And I remember this one from a guy that did it was garage door openers. Okay. This guy was like, I don't know, like Disney, like taking over the world in garage door openers.
Tommy Mello.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was so impressed because he's like, yeah, I opened one up in Tucson and now there's this, now there's 97 this, and there's, now there's like 16 million of this and that. And I'm like, dude, you're smarter than me, and I want to make it really clear. And I'm trying to really say this truly, I'm not pretending to be modest. I'm not even modest. Okay. I'm being factual when I tell you that I am not a super smart guy. And I am not I kind of am a hard worker intellectually sometimes when I think about stuff, but physically, no. And I'm not a very good electrician out in the field. I do not have great eye-hand coordination. Like every electrician I've got, and there's plenty of them, they are better than me. And I've got a guy that runs the field that's 20 times better than me. I've got a guy running the IT stuff that's twice as smart as me. I've got 2 people in the office, accountants, that actually know what they're doing. I am like an imbecile when it comes to accounting stuff. So what I'm trying to say is, I wrote a book for, what's that series called? Something for Dummies,
For Dummies, yeah.
Okay, I'm for the average person. If your IQ is more than, let's say, 110 or something, and you're not a criminal, like, just do what I learned how to do, and you are going to be successful. Okay, really, it's you don't have to be a genius, or you don't have to, come up with amazing skills to run a corporation.
Right.
None of that stuff. Okay, you really don't. All you have to do is go out there every day and greet the new day with intention to make some profit by doing quality work for someone, and
that's it.
Learn all the little ins and outs of promotion and sales and marketing. If you want to read the book, it's all there. Some people don't. I guess there's an audio version too, I guess. So you can listen in your truck, maybe, I guess.
I got both, audio.
Oh yeah, didn't you start with the audio?
I started with the audio. Yeah, exactly. Going back through it now. Always good to absorb twice.
Yeah.
And
so there's hope. Anyway, there's hope, guys. I'm telling you, there's hope. And I'll also tell you that at least 90% of all tradesmen don't make it. Like they don't do enough correct things in order to have a comfortable retirement. They just don't. You could be one of the 10% that does. Yeah. Really, you could. Just do the right things and be persistent. So there.
A few skills. Great closing. A few skills. You don't have to be Tommy Mello and conquer the world. You don't have to make $1 billion.
Yeah, I'm not that guy. Just like I'm not a Chamber of Commerce guy. I'm not like I want to like start my own franchise and I want to, rule the world. No, I'm just a little guy that just wanted to make some money for his family and security and live a comfortable retirement. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the beauty of the trades too, is you don't have to go in massive debt going to college to acquire the skills. And B, you can grow as big or as little as you want to be, right? So if you want to be $1 billion, whatever, service company, you can pull that off probably.
If that's your personality, go for it. Absolutely.
Right. But you can also make a killing and a super nice living for you and everybody in your company, just being a solo shop.
If you make, and I think you should, about $500 more a week than you need, and you just took that $500 and you just invested it every week. You don't invest it all, every week, but you save it up and then you invest in something. It adds up, my friend. It adds up and it adds up. And most people don't. If you look at what their retirement incomes are, they don't do that. But if you own your own company, you're not buying a job. Like, you need to think of it like you're the owner of a company, and your job isn't to make money for you and your family that week. It's your job is to make a successful business that produces more income than you need to spend that particular week.
Nice. Well said. With that, we will close it down and hope to see you in the next episode, folks out there. Thanks for, give them your contact info. I always think somebody's listened to the previous ones, but maybe not, Kim. So how did they reach you?
I guess you can. I have a website called, you won't believe this, $1,000,000contracting.com. If you go there, it'll point you to, if you want to get any kind of version of the book that you want to get. Or leave me a message somehow. You can, my company's called The Electric Connection. Occasionally someone, leaves me an email that they have a question about something. I'll be happy to return that call or that email and whatever, I'm open. I'm not a big guy. I'm not unreachable. I'm just a guy. So
just a guy. We're just peoples. Yeah. There'll be links down in the description below the podcast or YouTube channel. So you can click there and there'll be a link to the book as well as to Kim's Electric Connection website, his company's site.
Which you can just look at the website to see what you can do. Like when you're making a website, you can look at different pages that they zero in on very specific things that services that somebody might want. And that's when I talk about making specific pages, you can see what they look like there.
Right. Study the ones who are crushing it already. So we'll touch on that and website stuff to come in further episodes. So again, thanks to all the listeners out there. Create a great day.